I'm Diane Rutherford at the Digital News Desk. Christmas comes early for the city of Watertown. The state announced today that it awarded the city $37 million worth of grants. Here's how that breaks down. More than $24 million for the water treatment plant improvement project. Then there's another $7.4 million to reduce inflow and infiltration in the western outfall trunk sewer. And then another $5 million for a new drinking water storage tank. I'm joined now by Watertown Mayor Sarah Pierce. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Christmas does come early for the city of Watertown.
It certainly did. We've got the great news this morning, and just fantastic news for the city of Watertown. And we thank the state and Governor Hochul and her administration for investing in the city in this way.
Now, let's talk about the different grants one by one. The first one being $27 million.
Yes, or $24 million.
$24 million,
yes,
excuse me.
That's for the water treatment plant, yes.
Right. So what does that entail? I know it's a project that you've had estimates in the past that is going to cost $60 million. This obviously is a good chunk of that. What is that project?
So this project has to do with water quality, and I think people will be familiar with the issues that we've had in recent years, and we've talked about this project a lot. It's basically just a project to make improvements to the water treatment plant, water treatment facility, and improve the water quality and address the disinfectant byproduct issue with our water. And so, as you said, it's about a $60 million project at last estimate, and this $24 million grant will cover a big chunk of that. And we have been applying for grants for a number of years, but nothing this significant has come through, so we're really glad to see this happen.
Now, I know that we have seen historically a lot of water main breaks as the system ages, and it is quite old. It's about 100 years old, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes. So will this actually replace a lot of the infrastructure underground?
This will be more about water treatment and water quality, not a lot to do with the infrastructure underground having to do with the water main breaks. This is really about the water quality and getting that up to federal standards.
Gotcha. And how do you improve that? What exactly needs to be done?
There's a lot of different changes and basically an overhaul of the system and the way we treat our water and getting it up to those federal standards because as people who have been following this issue will know, there have been a number of times where we have been out of compliance when it comes to our water quality in those federal standards. So they're going to be making changes to the way that we treat our water to make sure that that doesn't happen and essentially provide safe drinking water for all. Not that our water's not safe to drink now, but just to get it up to those federal standards that we're required to meet.
Now, the second grant has to do with, and forgive me for not remembering what this is called, the Western
Outfall Trunk Sewer.
And what is that in everyday language? What is that?
That's basically the underground system, and it's what is largely to blame for the issues that you'll see over in the section of town, Butterfield Avenue, Cosgrove, that area, where you have the issues with the flooding of the basement, sewer backup, that sort of thing. And essentially what this is going to do, it's going to improve that system and the underground infrastructure and make it so those problems are a lot less frequent. I believe the price tag on this for the total cost of the improvements that we plan to do is about $29 million. So with this grant, forgive me, I'm going to check my notes, it's just over $7 million that we're getting for this. So it's going to take care of a large chunk of that and help make some of those improvements so those issues that people are experiencing in that part of the city won't be as common.
Right, and I know this is going to come as very welcome news to those folks.
Yes.
Now, one of the other things is the water storage tank in Thompson Park.
Yes, the reservoir at Thompson Park.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yes,
You're getting some money for that.
That is an issue that's been going on for a number of years with the leaking there. It's estimated hundreds of thousands of gallons a day, and so a pretty serious issue, obviously, for the city. And this is something that we've been talking about over the course of the past year, making improvements there and essentially replacing that reservoir. And so the price tag on this was anywhere from $12 million, potentially up to $20-ish million to replace that. And so this grant funding today, $5 million, is going to go a long way toward helping with that.
Now, obviously, it doesn't cover all of the costs.
Won't cover all of it, no.
So where do you come up with the rest of the money?
The rest of the money will be, we did bond for this. We bonded up to $29 million. We don't think it'll cost that much, but, we wanted to have that extra cushion there. The last estimate was around $12 million. We think it'll be a little bit more than that, but that $5 million grant will certainly help when it comes to covering that cost.
And going back to the first project, as we said, that's a $60 million project estimate on that. Where does the rest of the money come for that?
So that'll be through bonding as well. And we also have been continuing to apply for other grants. And I think, we'll continue to do that in the future as well. But this is just great news for the city because I don't think, and we were trying to think back and when has the city received this big of an influx in grant funding. We had the ARPA program, that federal program that came out after COVID, and that was, I think, $23 million, if I recall correctly. So this $30+ million is truly significant for the city and its residents.
Oh, without a doubt. And as a taxpayer in the city of Watertown, what will this mean to me as a taxpayer?
Well, it's going to be less of a burden on our residents to have to pay for these projects, less of a stress on the water and sewer fund, less stress on having to increase water rates in the future. So just great news when it comes to alleviating everyday residents of those costs of these important projects.
Now, granted, you did get a lot of the money right now, but you're still, still trying to piece together the rest of the financing for it. But when do you anticipate any of these projects to begin?
I would say you'd probably see some of these projects. I know trying to think here. The water treatment project, we're pretty well done with the design on that. I think you could probably see that starting later in the spring. The others, I would say also, there's going to be design work that's going to have to be done, but I would say, depending on when this funding comes through and what that timeline looks like, it would be sometime next year.
Oh, wow. So this is coming up fairly quickly this spring that you would start working on.
Well, a lot of these projects, especially the treatment plant, they've been in the works for a long time as far as the design goes. And like I said, that design is near completion, if not complete. So I would say in the relatively near future.
Now, you say that you're also looking for other grants. Are they from the state, the feds? Where are they from?
Anywhere. Anywhere we can get them.
Yeah.
We did apply. We have applied for a number of years for the funding through the state that was specifically for communities in and around military bases. We hadn't been successful with receiving that funding. Perhaps we'll go for that again. But really anything that comes up that would be a good fit for these projects, I think we would intend to apply for.
Now, as you said, this is a sizable source of funding from the state, one of the highest you've ever seen. How difficult was it to obtain it?
Well, I personally, as council members, we, show our support for these grants, but really it's the behind the scenes work that makes all the difference. So our staff and working with the various partners that we have when it comes to grant writing, they're the ones who really make this happen and make the case with the state for why we need this project or these projects and why they're important. So the credit really goes to them and, of course, the council for their advocacy as well.
Now, I know that I had mentioned earlier about the antiquated system underground with the pipes being over 100 years old and so forth, and having water main breaks fairly consistently, like a lot of communities here in the North Country. Will any of this help to alleviate some of the issues that you have from the antiquated pipes?
I would say, if anything, perhaps the Watts project would alleviate some of the stress on the system and maybe have something to do with that. But specifically when it comes to going street by street and doing that reconstruction, this won't have a direct effect on that. We continually try to upgrade that infrastructure when we're able to, when we do the, street overhauls. But, more funding is going to be needed to completely address that issue because, the pipes are very old, as you said.
Sure. So ultimately, we're going to see better quality drinking water, less sewage spillover into some of our neighborhoods in Watertown, and then, of course, plugging up that leak or even replacing the reservoir up at Thompson Park.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add on the subject?
No, just again, we're very grateful to the state, Governor Hochul and her administration for recognizing the need here in the city of Watertown. I think that when you think about essentials that a city needs to grow and to attract families and businesses, you get, one of the most basic needs is water and water infrastructure. So it's very important that we have these investments for our residents, and we're just very, very pleased to get this news today.
Sarah Pierce, Mayor of Watertown, thank you so much for joining us today.
You.
This has been an interview with Sarah Pierce at the Digital News Desk. I'm Diane Rutherford. Thank you for joining us.